Welcome to the Secure CIO, the podcast for technology executives who are tasked with hiring and retaining great cybersecurity leaders. Join best-selling author Claire Pales together with industry thought leaders as they answer your questions about sourcing the right leaders, building cybersecurity teams, candidate selection, salaries, skills, and more.
Hello and welcome to the Secure CIO podcast. I'm your host, Claire Pales, and today our guest is Victoria Kluth. Victoria is a successful business person and experienced technology executive. She is the CEO of Araza, a technology company that specialises in implementation of complex solutions, including cloud-based applications and enterprise system integration. Prior to starting Araza, Victoria had a successful career where she held executive positions working closely with C-level and board executives. She's a collaborative and engaging leader, as well as being someone who is an outstanding role model and mentor for women in business. Victoria has been profiled for her work in CEO Magazine, The Age, Technology magazines, and is a contributor on social media regarding business, gender equality, and diversity. Thank you so much, Victoria, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Claire.
So let's start with some of the key information about your business, Araza. Why did you start the business? How many staff have you got? How have you grown so quickly?
Those are really good questions. I'll start with the easy one. Why did I start the business? I think a lot of us who come from larger companies and decide to do something on our own, it's all about wanting to do something a little bit different. And that difference can be a lot of different things. And for me, it was I wanted to have a little bit more control of the quality and the outcomes of what was being presented to the client. And I wanted to work with the people that I wanted to work with. So yes, that was 6 years ago. And we now have about 350 people in Australia, in Melbourne, which is where we're headquartered, in Sydney, Canberra, and we have a small team in Brisbane. And the last bit you asked, which was, how have you grown so quickly, is kind of the question that everyone always wants to ask me about. And I wish I had a really great canned answer for you. Unfortunately, I do not. But I do think about it a lot because people do want to talk about this meteoric growth. People always talk about people. And I think that where I'm really conscious of it is not only trying to get the best quality that I'm most interested in working with, which of course is a huge part of your delivery. But I also think it's working with the clients that are going to make you successful. I think so many people just take clients for the sake of having that work. And they're not looking at, well, is this the type of company we should be partnering with? If I go in here and deliver this, are we both going to look good? And are we both going to be successful? And I think we've done that really well. I think quick growth you always have to have a good reputation, and you actually have to be delivering, which we do and we are. And then I always believe in a little bit of luck. So I think, there's always right place, right time, taking advantage of something. If something's coming up, did you go for it or did you kick back? And I'd like to think we went for it. So that's how we got to where we are now.
Sounds like it's been a pretty incredible journey over the last 6 years. And I recall when we caught up recently, we were talking a bit about diversity when you were telling me about how you built your teams. And I know that you've kind of got the reverse diversity problem. Tell us about, well, when it comes to gender, I suppose, tell us a bit about how you're attracting so many women to work at Araza.
I think that for me, when I started Araza, to be quite honest, I just wanted to go out and hire the people that I wanted to work with and that I thought were great. And it was about 4 or 5 months in that somebody pointed out to me that we were gender equitable. We had 6 men, 5 women, and I was the MD at the time. So I was like, oh, we are diverse, and decided that day we would always be a diverse organization. So I think if you're doing the right things, a diverse team should be coming to you. So we start taking out some of the bias. And for me, of course, if I was trying to hire people that I liked and people that mirrored me, there was going to be some women there. The flip side of that is then, this what you call the reverse diversity problem is in our leadership and in our sales management team, we are probably about 65% women. So now we have this problem that a good man is hard to find, I always say. So, it's like, how do we get some good quality men out there? I don't know. And it sounds silly when you say it. And so when you say the same thing about women, I think that sounds silly. I initially just tried to take the bias out of it. But now I think the follow-up to that, of course, is that we've got a reputation for being a gender equitable organization that pays equitably across our diverse teams. So, of course, if you're a woman, you're going to be more probably excited about applying to a company like Araza than maybe some other companies that aren't that way. So I think having done something that was, again, a little bit different in ensuring that we were a diverse organization, then follows on that we're getting more women as well. So we're getting a bigger candidate pool. They go hand in hand now.
So apart from that gender diversity in your workforce, which you're committed to, what are some of the other principles you've stood by for building teams, I guess, in the technology industry?
So for our organization, I didn't actually write our corporate values until we were a year into the company, because I'm like, I don't know that I know what our values are. Right now, I just want to make sure I can pay the bills next month, to be quite honest. The first month is like, can I make payroll? So the company grew probably in the first year to about, between 20 and 30 people. And then I took a step back and I thought, okay, what have I done over this first bit and where are we moving forward? And that's when I came up with the two guiding principles of be great and be grateful. Because to me, if you come in every day and that's what every single person in our company is doing, we are going to be the most successful company. Because striving to be great is ensuring success for yourself, ensuring success for your client, ensuring success for the company. It goes across everything. And I think that's so important. The problem with being great is that we're all human. And, a great some days is about a 4.5, right? I'm having the worst hair day today. I'm so glad this is audio tape. It's like, oh gosh, and I woke up before my alarm, which I hate doing, all these things, right? So right away, I'm in a crabby mood. I'm human. We have different meetings. Some meetings go great. Some are average. So, you end up, the best I could do today was this, but you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to strive for that 10 again. And the next day, I might be an 11 out of a 10. So the idea that we can all be fallible and we can all be okay at times is part of that be great, because I'm not asking for you to be perfect. Mm-hmm. I'm asking for you to go in and do the absolute best you can for all of us. And I think that's really resonated with everyone. And the second half of that is being grateful. And I've celebrated gratefulness for a very long time. And I am every day grateful for every client who wants to use Araza, every person who wants to work for Araza. I'm grateful to you for allowing me to talk in the podcast today. And I think that is something that we all need to be celebrating and being really aware of. And I think that's resonated with everyone as well. I start every meeting that I do with how I think I'm great or how I think Araza is great that day, and also what I'm grateful for that day. Because, I guess that's the other thing, is so many people have principles about, building their teams and building their companies and values. But do you live them? And do people in your company even know what they are? You can't be around me and not know that.
Being great and being grateful is something that is linked very closely to what I want to talk about next, and that is one of your great projects and that's the Araza Women in Cyber program. And I think there's a lot of women out there who are grateful that you have started this program, and I think it's incredible and a testament to the fact that you are so committed to women in tech. So tell the listeners a little bit about how the Araza Women in Cyber program works.
I have been passionate about security and cybersecurity for a very, very long time. And, the first time we met, I was so excited that I accidentally sat next to you because I love talking about cyber. And Araza itself did not have a very deep cyber practice. It just wasn't a core to our systems integration team. But we were doing more in pen testing, and we were doing more around architecture and security architecture. And as we were going to look for candidates, I was seeing all men, which does not bode well for me. So I called in my recruiters and I said, "What's the problem?" And they just started laughing and they said, "Victoria, it's not that, the problem isn't us. The problem is, there are no women." And of course, that's like, to me, that is just like waving a red flag. And, I started doing the research and saw the numbers. And I thought, well, the problem with something that's very niche like cybersecurity is that you can't just read a book and say, "Oh, I'm a cybersecurity consultant now." And it is a lot of education and a lot of hands-on and a lot of very deep diving. So I saw that there was a problem, but I'm either part of the solution or part of the problem. So I had an idea that I was going to replicate off of our graduate program. And I decided we would do this and I would pitch it to the government and see if I could get some funding for it. And how the program goes and how I pitched it was, we would go out and find women who were passionate about cyber and passionate about security. For example, you might be an automation tester that's doing a heavy scripting and almost working maybe sometimes on that fringe of the pen testing group, but not actually doing the pen testing. Or you might have done multi-layers of network architecture, and you've started to implement some of the security layers, but you're not actually doing the security networking. So you've got the right experience to go into cyber, but you're just not there yet. So, there is a third candidate, and that is a young lady who has studied cyber at university, but of course you always need your first job. Mm-hmm. So people who have the passion and the right background to be able to be skilled up to that next level. So I went to my clients and I said, if we offered you people for free, specifically women, to go into your cyber areas, would you take them on and help Araza skill them up into the cyber consultants that we need them to be? And they all said yes. They were every client we have talked to has wanted to be on this program. We've not had one client say they don't want to be part of it. So I did the financials and went to the government and said, look, I think we could get between 12 and 20 women in this year. I think more importantly than the number of women is that it's a completely replicable process. Mm. Unfortunately, the government decided that, or the program that I asked for the funding from did not pick the Araza program to go forward. But I was obsessed with this idea now that I had it. I'm like, wait, I don't care that they think it's a great program. I think it's a great program. And what do we need to do at Araza to fund this program? And so what we did is we realized we're going to have to cut back on the number of candidates that go through, but that we would move forward. So we started the program in September with our first rotation in October, and it's just been fantastic. Our clients have all asked to keep in the program. We have a waiting list of clients that want to bring on the women into their areas. So everything that we've done and everything we said was going to work so far, knock on desk, is working. And the goal is to increase the number every time. So every rotation, which is 4 rotations a year. So the first rotation had 2 ladies. This next rotation that starts in 2 weeks will have 4 ladies, then 6, then 8. So within the first year, we'll have almost made our 20 without the government support, which is pretty incredible. Of course, the problem we now have is the clients are loving it so much. So, and it's like any big initiative is you want to strike where the iron's hot. You don't want it to be like, oh, well, yeah, they put me on a list and now we've got to wait. So it's trying to get that balance right of keeping people excited about the program and still being able to get all the quality of candidate has not been difficult. There are so many smart, talented, technical women in Australia. It's being able to get them in and get them to the clients in the time frame that Araza can support them at the moment. So we are so excited. The clients that we are working with are tier 1, very large. Our first client is one of the big 4 banks, and just to have them as our launch pin into this program has been amazing. And these are the types of companies that want to work with us on this. So it's really been a dream that I had this idea to really change cyber. And so far it's really working.
And where do you find the women that are coming into the program? You said you've got a waiting list. Is that because they're approaching you? And what sort of skill sets are the current women who are in the program?
So we're finding the women via our normal recruitment process, and from women who are already in our company. So we have a lot of great technical women who've put their hands up to say, we want to move over to cyber. So, then it's a matter of finding the right time to pull them off their current projects. We need to backfill them so that they can get their training. And we have full-time internal recruiters that recruit for our normal projects and our normal consulting practice. So they're on the lookout all the time. And then we're doing things like putting ads up, posting on LinkedIn into some of the LinkedIn groups to say, hey, if you're interested, please let us know. Send us your CV and we'd love to talk to you. So we're reaching out in a whole bunch of different ways. There are some nights when I'm just sitting around and I'll just go out on LinkedIn and start searching for different types of keywords and seeing who's comes up, because sometimes I just want to go out and find people that I think, she would be great. I wonder if she has a passion for cyber, because you can tell when people are, when they're taking the courses, when they're listing up different types of programs that they're involved in.
You've got a number of women in the program already. What would be some of the skills that they have at the moment? The
first 2 ladies that we placed were from different backgrounds. The first lady was from has been with Araza for about 3 or 4 years, and she was on one of our largest testing programs, and she was doing automation testing. So she was very passionate about cyber and started her own training on the side to kind of come up to speed before she started taking on some of the training that we provided. And the second lady was from a networks background and had been doing networks for a smaller organization than the tier 1 organizations that we have. So that was backgrounds, very different size companies, different size projects that they'd been working on, and different technical skills. But as you know, security and cybersecurity is different technical skills. It's not just one skill. So I think that's one of the interesting things that comes up with the clients is that they're being very open and generous with how they train up the person as well. So if we give them somebody with a skill set in one area and they thought the person was going to help out in a different area, they might change the program around a little bit for them on the client side and say, okay, let's start you out in this area for a couple of weeks, and then you'll come over here and do networks for a couple of weeks or whatever it is, so that everyone's getting a bit of help.
The exposure these women would be getting to such interesting projects and, large scale projects as well is pretty incredible. And that on the job piece is something that, as you said earlier, you can't learn in university, you can't learn in a training module, or out of a textbook. So they're getting that side of things. And then you mentioned that you're providing some training as well. So what does the training you're covering that I think you're doing every quarter, what are you covering with the women there?
It's not textbook type training that we're offering. We're doing things that are a little bit more hands-on-y. So things like cyber frameworks and how you're going to need to be thinking when you get onto client site. Case studies. We've had some great clients come in to talk about, this is what happened. This is what could happen to you out in the real world when you're there. And we have the product companies that we work with come and talk about their latest technical products that they're putting out and what they're seeing at the client sites and some of the issues that are coming up. So everything is about very enterprise level, real world issues and how you get them solved and what your day looks like when you're working around that. So I think, it's a much different learning than a textbook type learning. Because when you get on site, that's what you're going to see. And you're right. We're so fortunate that these large enterprises are wanting to work with us because they're in the level and the enormity of what security is to these companies is, how long is a piece of string? There's so many different things that it can touch. So offering that type of training has been really helpful to them because that's the kind of stuff they're going to see when they get on site. You've
had a lot of success clearly attracting these what I would call entry-level cyber candidates. They're not necessarily entry-level into other industries. You've had success attracting them. You've had success attracting leaders. I mean, you've got more than 300 staff working in your business. What advice would you give to other leaders or CEOs or CIOs who are looking to attract these diverse candidates and build these teams? What advice could you give?
Assume the problem is you. Because everyone, but it's true, right? So, everyone goes in with their hiring plans and then they say, well, we can't find anyone. Well, it's not that the women aren't there. We are 50% women in this country, in this world. So assume it's you. So the program that you have put in place, that this company has put in place, is not attracting the people that you want. So what are you going to do about it? And, they're like, well, we put up on Seek. Well, you know what? If women, as we know, we've all heard some of the things that maybe we're not as confident as going for jobs that don't tick all the boxes. You hear this one quite a bit. So if we believe that to be true, then is putting out a Seek ad that that lists a whole bunch of things for them to tick, is that going to do it? So, you're like, well, we belong to all the cyber networks. Yep. Well, so does everyone else. So, the people that a lot of times belong in the cyber networks are people like you and I, Claire, where we're going out because we're, trying to share knowledge and we're trying to get knowledge back. And it's not going to be where you're just a load of women just waiting to get picked up is going to let me see if I can't go to this cyber group and see if I get 20 job offers today. It doesn't happen that way. So you have to take a look at what are you willing to put in? And I think that Araza has been very good at finding people and what they're capable of, not do they tick the boxes. And I do think that's scary because you are saying you're going to invest in people. And it's hard. It's a hard environment sometimes because you're not going to get the quick win that maybe you need at that point. And technology is moving so fast and businesses are moving so fast that sometimes you don't have that ability to do the investment. But what I've found is you get it back so many times. And it's one of the reasons people are talking about Araza. So, and it is one of the reasons for our growth. So I think that you have to, take a look at what your program is doing. And also, people do say it, you hire yourself, you hire your mirror. And every time a company comes to me and says they can't find women, I just say, it's not them, it's your program.
It's funny, a little while ago, maybe a couple of years ago now, I wrote a blog exactly about the fact that you shouldn't hire in your own image and that, having complementary skills around you is one of the key things you can do when you're leading a security team, because you need that diversity of thought and that diversity of skill sets to really round out what an organisation needs. You probably say it more bluntly than I do in my book, but yes, if you can't find the people you want, maybe the problem is you, is a very blunt way of saying that that you need to, think a little bit more deeply about the type of person that you're after and ways and means to find those people. And I think you're absolutely right that, we need to be innovative if we're going to change the way that we recruit in this industry.
You're absolutely right. And one of my catch calls has always been, I'm glad that my competitors don't want diverse teams because diverse teams, whether it's in cyber or in anything, perform better. All the research shows it. So thank you, competitors, for not doing it, because we know that we're more successful because we are.
So how can people connect with you and find out more about the program outside of the podcast? Where should people go?
So I'm on LinkedIn at Victoria Kluth. Araza is the company, Araza. I'm on Twitter at Victoria Kluth. And you can email me direct at info@araza.com.au. We're just so excited, not only about this program, but where cyber is headed in Australia.
Thank you so much, Victoria. I really appreciate what you're doing for our industry, but also for you joining the podcast today. And you really are running a program that I think will help the future of not only women in the industry, but the industry as a whole. So I'm very grateful for your time and thank you for making this episode so fun as well.
Claire, thanks for having me. This has been a blast. Thanks.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for listening. For more information on all our guests, check out the show notes at thesecurecio.com, where you can also find more information on the Secure CIO framework, sign up for my newsletter and buy my book. I'll see you next week.